Hi. So we are back again with the Yoga Sutra Samadhipada. We are going to resume from where we left the last session. I'm going to start with a prayer to Patanjali and to Sri T. Krishnamacharya. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीना पतञ्जलं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् श्रीमते अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्णवागीशयतीश्वराभ्यां सम्प्राप्तचक्राङ्कणभाष्यसारम् श्रीनूत्नरङ्गेन्द्रयतौ समर्पितस्वं श्रीकृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमीडे विरोधे कार्तिके मासे शतताराकृतोदयं योगाचार्यं कृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमहं भजे। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। So we looked at the first 11 sutras from the Samadhipada last time. And now we are moving over to the exact process or the tools that will help us to reach the state of Chittavritti Nirodha. The 12th sutra is talking about two important aspects that are required for us to stay on the path of sadhana, to be able to reach a quiet, clear, lucid state of mind. Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam Tannirodhaha. So Abhyasa comes from the root Abhi Asa, which means to be or to stay, to persist with something. Vairagya comes from the root Vigataha Ragaha Vairagya, the falling away of raga, the falling away of craving or wanting. So the falling away happens when the ripening happens. So when a particular karma or action or effort fructifies, just like the fruit drops off the tree, the need to hold on to something or the cravings for whatever external pursuits begin to fall away. The pleasure seeking or the pain avoiding tendencies will automatically drop away. So this is Vairagya. You can call it non-attachment or dispassion. Bhyam is both. Tad here refers to the chittavrittis. Nirodha is the restraint or control. So the commentaries to the sutra talk about how a flooded river can be restrained by creating a dam, converting a flooded river into a placid flow towards the state of samadhi. So it's very important to understand that it is not just any effort, any practice, or non-attachment towards anything. it's a process of discovering something deeper. Okay, we'll have to really question sometimes, why do we stay with the effort of practicing yoga? Why do we stay on the path? Is it coming from some kind of an external trigger, or is it an inner calling? So as long as the trigger is from outside, then when the need to continue is not there anymore from outside, then there is a tendency for the effort to drop away. तत्र स्थितौ यत्नः अभ्यासः. तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः. Tatra is to be located in that whatever you're pursuing. Sthitau is to stay with it. Yatnaha is effort, abhyasa. So here it is defining what is abhyasa. So abhyasa can be both seen as the effort to stay with something with the direction of restraining the vrittis. So it's not about controlling the mind, but it is about holding on to the direction, to the practices that will help us to eventually restrain the vrittis. Understanding that what I am doing is going to help me to restrain my chitta vritti so that my mind can become calm and clear. So it's both the effort that I make consistently and the enthusiasm for making the effort. And like I said before, unless we discover something valuable, we will not be able to persist and stay with it. And it is not necessary for us to constantly look outward for inspiration or motivation to stay on the path or keep this fire alive. Just as I begin to pay deeper attention to my practices, yoga itself will show me the way. Yoga itself will take me to the next step. Like the commentary to the third chapter, one of the sutras, I think it's 3.6, Vyasa talks about how you only need to know the next step. You don't need to know the whole path. Often we get stuck with a certain idea of a goal, and we fix this idea in our mind. We don't even know what that goal is. For example, I don't even know what Chitta Vritti Nirodha is. But I know that what I am doing is going to help me to quieten my mind down. So the direction and the process is more important than the idea of the goal, because if I hold a certain idea of the goal, which is itself an imagination, and I'm constantly checking whether I have reached there, how long is it going to take, it's so easy to get disappointed and frustrated and give up or move over to something else. So it's like digging many wells to find water. And therefore, how should the abhyasa be? Satu dirghakala nairantarya satkara adara asevito dridhabhomihi. So even that persistence, staying with an effort, has to have certain qualities. It's not just any effort. Dirgha kala means long time, which actually means we continue to practice, not giving up, lifetime. So when somebody asks how long should I practice yoga, it's actually a very funny question to ask, because we're looking at yoga as something that's going to give me a certain result, and once I get the result I can stop the practice. But it doesn't work that way, because the mind doesn't stop functioning. So I can quieten my mind down, but once I stop my practice, everything will come back. So until I reach a point where we have completely brought the gunas to a state of equilibrium, where we have completely exhausted the karma, where there is no place for the gunas to activate the mind anymore, the mind is a mind. So dirgha kala means long time, lifetime. Nairantarya, without interruption, is very important. So even if it is just beginning to make the effort in practice, and people say, can I go for walking one day and I can do yoga on the other days, or can I take off on Sunday? It's actually something that we really have to think about, because do we ever let the mind rest? So if we can ask, do you not think on Sundays, or what? So Nairantarya is without any interruption. And interruption is not simply about doing your practice every day. To constantly keep my focus on the goal continuously. Remember, this is for the advanced yogi, Samahita Chitta. Don't give up your direction. Don't stop thinking about where you want to go. Nairantarya. Satkara, with positive attitude. I have to really understand why I am doing what I am doing. I have to see the value in it and stay with it. Adara, with enthusiasm, with great care. Sevitaha, with reverence. This as if when I do my asana, it is with the attitude of reverence towards my body, to serve my body. And why should I serve my body? So that the body may serve the self, the Purusha within. So it is with that attitude of reverence that I stay with the effort. And when I do it with Dirgha Kala, Nairantarya, Satkara, Adara, Asevita, all these, then it becomes firmly established. Dridha Bhumi. So I will be able to establish myself in a certain bhumi. And once I reach a certain ground, whatever was bothering me before doesn't continue to bother me. So here it is not about transcending a level and reaching another level, but it is a kind of an inclusive process where I move, when I go deeper and deeper, when I touch a deeper bhumi, then the bhumi that is above it, whatever is happening at the Vishesha level, doesn't bother me like it used to bother me before. Then I go and touch a deeper ground beyond that. So to move deeper and deeper, the qualities of abhyasa are very important. I think this is something that we really will be able to experience as we stay with the practice. The satkara and the adara and the asevita qualities are necessarily not qualities that I need to impose on myself. It happens when I begin to develop a deeper connection with my body, with my breath. When I understand that there is something beyond my mind that my mind can serve. And when my mind develops that attitude, then it can really quieten down and show me the way. And then we come to Vairagya. So in the class, we talked about the different levels of Vairagya, if you remember. Yathamana Sanya Vairagyam, where at a very conscious level, using the power of the mind, the will, I develop a certain boundary for my actions. I abstain from certain things which I know is not wholesome, is not going to help me, and I stay with what is going to help me, particularly when we get into the practice of the Yama Niyamas. Then we have the Vyatireka, where I try to identify, is it a particular sense organ or is it a particular samskara of the mind that is pulling me in a certain direction that I need to restrain, and I consciously work towards it. At the Vyatireka level, I have developed a certain level of mastery. Okay, I'm not tempted, but then the residue of the temptation is still there. Then Ekendriya, I still have to deal with some of the impressions in the mind that if I am not vigilant, it can take over. Then we come to the Vashikara Sanya Vairagyam. This is what Patanjali is talking about. So he is talking about Drishta Vishaya and Anushravika Vishaya. Drishta Vishaya is what I see, what I experience through my senses. Anushravika Vishaya is what I hear of. So what the scriptures talk about, particularly if you are looking at the reference as Yoga Sutra, then the third chapter of Yoga Sutra talks about these amazing siddhis that you can develop by mastery of the mind and the body. And the mind immediately begins to hanker after these siddhis. In fact, it's quite easy sometimes to achieve some of these siddhis if you stay with certain practices. And there are courses run to help you to achieve these siddhis. But is this really the goal for a yogi? We have to ask ourselves. So Anushravika Vishaya can really become a big source of temptation. Not necessarily material things, but spiritual aspirations can be also a big obstacle. Vishaya, so these objects, when I develop a certain control or mastery, I don't have any thirst or desire for even these objects or even these achievements or accomplishments. That is called Vashikara Sanya Vairagya, where I have complete mastery that comes from a deeper understanding of my direction and goal. तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेः गुणवैतृष्ण्यम्. Higher than that, higher than the Vashikara Sanya Vairagyam, Patanjali is talking about the Paravairagyam. At some point in my abhyasa, I might hit a certain ground and experience, have a glimpse of my true nature. When I have a true experience of who I am, then even the desires or the thirst created by the gunas, particularly the rajas and the tamas and even the sattva at some point, because we also get attached to the idea of being sattvic, doing sattvic things, etc. Guna Vaitrishniyam is even that drops away. So even the gunas will not affect you. So this is a very difficult sutra to understand. And this comes again later in the third chapter and of course the fourth chapter, because this is almost like the end point, not the process. One point 18 talks about another level of samadhi. Virama pratyaya abhyasa purvaha samskara sheshaha anyaha. In the process of staying with the effort and practicing, maybe we reach a point where there is spontaneous, instantaneous understanding of the object of enquiry. Virama is there is no movement or activity of the pratyaya, the process of perception, where the mind is moving towards a certain object through the senses, grasping the object, coming back and making sense out of it. That process is not happening. Therefore, the mind can instantaneously reflect the true nature of the object because of the abhyasa purvaha, the practice done in the past. What you have already done in the past will help you to experience the state of virama pratyaya. But in this state, samskara sheshaha anyaha. Anyaha here is what is different from or other than sampragnata samadhi. The commentary by Vyasa talks about asampragnata samadhi. Samskara sheshaha is very important to understand, because even though the mind is in a state of yoga and can understand something clearly and spontaneously, the old samskaras or the residue of the past continue to remain and can be activated at any point. So we need to be vigilant. Bhava pratyayo videha prakritilayana. We often look at some people who have an extraordinary mind, an extraordinary capability. Even simply if you look at child prodigies, a mathematician or a scientist or a musician, and we wonder from where did this skill come, from where did this extraordinary ability arise. And this is what Patanjali is explaining in this particular sutra, saying probably this sutra is relating to the Virama Pratyaya. How does a mind have the capability to reflect something spontaneously without any coloring, without any distortion? That is because of the past karma. So these are the bhava pratyayas. So bhava means to be. Pratyaya is the actual extraordinary capability of the mind for a certain process of perception. Where there is a deeper presence, I think the light of the Purusha is shining through, and that will reflect what needs to be understood. And there are two categories that Patanjali is talking about, Videha and Prakritilaya. Videhas are the disembodied soul, so to speak. Also the people who are free from the identification with their body. So the body exists for them to exhaust a certain level of karma probably, but there is no identification with the physical body. So there is no more accumulation of karma probably. Prakriti Laya are those that which are merged with nature. So we talk about Vyasa or Hanuman as Prakriti Layas. Now it is important to understand that we may have bhav pratyayas in our life, but they cannot be our teachers, because they do not remember how they got here, and therefore they cannot teach us how to get there. But probably they could be our inspiration. So what about the rest of us? People who are not bhav pratyayas, videha prakritilaya. Shraddha, वीर्य स्मृति समाधि प्रज्ञा पूर्वक iteration. So iteration is for the others, the other than Videha and Prakriti Laya. We need a strong inner conviction, which is Shraddha. And the Shraddha will give us the virya, the energy and the courage to pursue the path. And the energy will keep the memory alive. The memory means I have to remember constantly my direction, where I need to go, so that I am not swayed by small benefits. I am not swayed by the powers that I can acquire through the process of yoga. So I need to be constantly reflecting upon and studying to keep this memory alive, the memory of the direction that I want to move, the memory of where I came from. Samadhi prajna, it is contemplative wisdom, meditative wisdom. So, when the Shraddha is very strong, it gives me a lot of courage and energy. It can awaken the prana that lies dormant within me. It keeps my memory of the goal alive, and it helps me to experience higher and higher levels of wisdom and knowledge that comes from a quiet mind. And therefore, uh, my whole effort, the abhyasa and vairagya, is fueled naturally by the Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna process. Shraddha is compared to the mother. Just like the mother will do anything for the child to protect, to take care of the child, Shraddha will continue to protect you and keep you on the path. And we have to be able to differentiate between Shraddha and Raga. So I may have an intense desire to pursue the path of yoga. Now, when I experience pain, am I quickly giving up and looking for other quick solutions, or changing my path, or doubting where I am? Then I have to understand that Shraddha is clouded by Raga. So Dvesham takes over. How do I keep this Shraddha alive? How do I keep this fire strong within me so that it is not overpowered by the obstacles of the mind? This is something that we have to ask constantly. What is it that will keep this inner conviction alive? That I would never give up when I experience pain. Because when I start moving inward, I get in touch not just with the beautiful parts of me, but also those parts of me that are not so beautiful to look at. So the samskaras are invariably colored by the raga dvesha components. So when I get in touch with that, if I want to run away, if I don't want to hold the ground, it means I'm still swayed by the raga and dvesha very strongly. So the virya is the courage to encounter the darkness within me, to be able to embrace every part of me. And the memory and the glimpses of a quiet mind that helps me to understand that I am in the right path will help me to keep the Shraddha alive. तीव्रसंवेगानाम् आसन्नः. So the more intense my Shraddha is, the more intense will be my Abhyasa and the stronger will be the Vairagya. Samvega is like a compulsion, it's a great urgency that you feel within you to continue and intensify the process of Abhyasa and strengthen the Vairagya. So the more intense your effort is, which indicates your Shraddha is in the Tivram state, then the closer you reach the goal. But the Shraddha is not always very intense. Mridu, Madhya, Adhimatratvat, Tatopi, Visheshaha. The Shraddha can be Mridu, Madhya or Adhimatra. Mridu is, then it is very weak. This is when we see that we are completely swayed by the desire for only comfort, only a pleasurable experience will help us stay on the track. So when I do a certain practice, when I touch something deeper and I experience pain and I immediately want to give it up, I don't want to continue, then that is Mridu. Madhya, most of us are in this category, where sometimes I can pursue and sometimes I give up. So there is a certain level of intensity, but I have difficulty to deepen it. Adhimatra, extremely intense. So there are people who have this kind of an Adhimatra Shraddha. It could be on anything. Shraddha need not necessarily be only towards the spiritual path. A person's Shraddha can be in cooking or taking care of the child, or in art or in sport, right? But here we are talking about Shraddha towards the path of Chittavritti Nirodha, Adhimatra Shraddha. So the speciality of the Shraddha is it can easily get colored, it can easily be weakened, and therefore we need to look for something else. And what might that be? When my Shraddha is weak, when I feel powerless and hopeless, what do I turn to?